This is really the second sugya that we're studying, and because the previous was all really one long sugya, and the topic of this sugya, it again has to do with ריאה שניכבה, but I understand that this is a sugya kefula u'mshuleshet, which is to say that there's two primary parts, and each primary part has in turn three parts, right? That's why I understand this. That's what sugya kefula, double, u'mshuleshet, and triple. And you're going to see the relationship between the first part and the second part. The second part, structurally, the purpose of the second part when you have sugya kefula is that there's something in the first part that's unclear. And then the second part comes to clarify that matter. Right? So let's see if we can read the first part of this, the first primary part of this sugya. And it starts with Ravina, which is a little odd. Amar Ravina. The reason I say it's odd for a sugya to start with Ravina is because Ravina was the last generation. He was a haver of Rav Asher, a little older than Rav Asher, Mechaber Talmud. It seems a little odd that you bring Ravina first, and then later on you're going to see Amar Rav Yosef and Amar Rav Yosef. So it's a little strange, the ordering of the Chachamim. Normally you would want to bring the progression of the law, and the progression of the law, of course, follows the senior rabbi first, and then the less senior, and then the less senior, who add upon it and comment upon what was previously said. So it seems a little odd to start a sugya with Amar Ravina. And for that reason, and I've seen this, oftentimes the Sevoraim, they would add things at the beginning of sugyot. Right? So the Sevoraim themselves would have a commentary on the sugya, which is of course Sevoraitic, wasn't originally a part of the sugya, but then when they Sevoraim, they edited the sugya further, and they felt that it was within their authority to do so. Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't do it. So the Sevoraim were of the opinion that although Ravina and Rav Asher compiled the Talmud and edited the Talmud, they believe that they had the authority to further add. So sometimes you see, for example, in the same page, Daf Mem Zayin Amud Bet, if you go to the top of the page, we're dealing with the last subpart of the sugya, and the last subpart of the sugya dealt with different colors, and we bring Rav Achai. It says Amar Rava Kekohla, but it's not really Amar Rava, it's Amar Rav Achai, and we bring him before other Chachamim in the subpart. So we see that sometimes, that the Sevoraim will interject. Rav Achai was, again, he was on the bridge. He was a haver of the Betin of Ravina and Rav Asher, young junior, and he adds something. I think this Ravina is not the regular Ravina. There's two Ravinas. Let me explain that. So you see, you have Ravina, who was Dor Shelishi, and he was a haver of Rav Asher, and together they compiled the Talmud, although he was a little older than Rav Asher. Then you have Ravina, who was actually Ravina Barav Huna, and he was 8th generation. 8th generation is already the bridge, end of Emoraim, beginning of Sevoraim, right? So he was also the Rosh Yeshiva of Sura. So apparently, my speculation is that this must be the Ravina Ha'achalon, and this is a Sevoraitic addition into the sugya. And we'll see later on why they added it. But for now, I just want to explain to you how I understand the this ordering of matters. Okay. Of course, if you feel that you have like an insight, of course you can let me know. But let's start. Amar Ravina. Otem Bare'a.
Even if it was like the famous Ravina, which was like from an earlier generation, it could still be that they're just quoting him, maybe.
Yeah, but why would you start the sugya? You start with Rav Yosef, and then bring Ravina, because Ravina.
No, I'm saying the Sevoraim are quoting him, maybe.
No, that wouldn't be Sevoraitic. No, that's not Sevoraitic. I understand what you're saying. No. The Sevoraim, they add their own comments. They don't change the text of the Talmud at kedekach that Ravina and Rav Asher didn't bring a particular emorah or particular Tana, and now they're going to bring it. No.
Okay.
They add their own comments. I think what happened, if I remember correctly, is originally the comments of the Sevoraim were on the side. And then later on, those people who kind of printed or, wrote the Talmud before the printing press, they brought in the side comments into the main text. That's why you see comments of the Sevoraim. And I believe this must be that type of comment. So Amar Ravina, Otem Barea. You have sometimes a situation. Amar Ravina. You have a situation where part of the lung is sealed. It's stuck. Okay, you blow, and you see that it's not blowing up like a balloon. Imagine you have a balloon that you blow up, so the whole balloon blows up, but part of the balloon has like glue on the inside, so it doesn't blow up on that part. So you see that in the Риאה, that there's an atima. There's some sort of otem. There's something preventing the air from going all the way in. What do? You bring a knife and you cut a slit in that area where there is an atima. Yes, exactly. So two possibilities. One possibility is there's pus inside that area. And now sometimes the lungs have pus. Sometimes people have pneumonia and there's pus, mucus inside the lungs. So that's not a structural, that's not a pathological issue with the lung itself, but rather there is an infection causing the pus, and when the infection goes away, the pus will go away. So if there's mugla, we know that it's a mugla that was obstructing the passage of the air through the air. And therefore, kishira. Right? Oroka. Now, if you slit the area and there is no pus, so now you have a problem. That means that there's a structural, apparently it seems like there's a structural issue with the Риאה. It's not some sort of infection that's causing the pus, but it looks like the Риאה itself is structurally damaged. So now what do? So very intelligently, you don't automatically say, that's it, it's taref. The question is air passing through? Because if air is passing through, even though you have this structural issue, imperfection, let's call it, but the imperfection is not life-threatening because the Риאה is allowing air in. So that's what we do. So we bring a feather or some spittle, right? We bring a feather and we put it on that area and we blow. So if it you see the feather moves, that means that the air is going through. Kasher. But if even there's no air going through, then that's it. It's terefa, because this is considered a neked. This is considered an ריאה shenikava. I mean, the ריאה should be able to, blow up completely. And here there's something obstructing the air. That's considered a neked. If you look at Harambam, I believe Perek Zayin Ilchot Shechita, Halacha, I believe it was Gimel. Well, you could check. It's on the side if I just want to. No, Halacha Va. No, where is it? Halacha. Yeah, Halacha Gimel, I think. Let's see. Halacha Va was it? Yeah, no, Halacha Va. Mechila. It was Halacha Va. Perek Zayin Ilchot Shechita Halacha Va. ריאה, Chavot. Read it.
הריאה שנמצא בה מקום אטום
כלשהו. Even a small atima.
שאין הרוח נכנסת בו ואינו נטפח.
You blow into it and the air doesn't expand that area.
הרי זו כנקובה.
You understand? It's kinkuva. That's considered, so the atima is considered a type of ריאה shenikava. So here we're going to be dealing in this sugya, in the first part of the sugya, we're going to be dealing with situations where it's satum, and you say, there's no nekef. It's satum. No, this is not a shenikava. Maybe it's a problem, whatever. But it's not a shenikava. No, it's considered a shenikava. We're going to be dealing with a few situations where there is some sort of setima, some sort of sealant, whatever you want to call it. In this case, like obstruction. And yet, is it a nekev? Is it not a nekev?
Not automatic like that.
We're going to see. It depends. So here, the air is not going through. So because the air is not going through, it's considered nekuva and telefa. He said, we can read Harambam, as when we start reading Harambam. Chesed bodekin אותה, ממש הסוגיה.
בחסד בודקין אותה, קוראין המקום שלא נטפח בשעת נפיחה.
You tear that area, you slit it open maybe with a knife.
אם נמצאת בו ליחה מותרת.
Because the lecha is mucus, and that's what's causing the obstruction.
שמחמת הליחה לא נכנסה שם הרוח.
Good.
ואם לא נמצאת בו ליחה, נותנים עליו מעט רוק או תבן או כנף וכיוצא בהן, ונופחין אותה.
Or alternatively, you put some spittle or some teven, straw, or kanaf. Gatfa, where it says gatfa, the gatfa is the feather. Kanaf is a feather.
Yeah.
And you blow.
אם נזנז כשירה, ואם לאו תרפה, שאין הרוח נכנסת לשם.
Very good. So this is the first subpart of primary part A. The first part of primary part A, rather, was the statement of Ravena. And you can see that this statement is related, we'll see how it's related, to the other statements in this primary part A.
אמר רב יוסף.
Now we're going to bring two statements of Rav Yosef. Statement number one. Amar Rav Yosef.
אמר רב יוסף, קירום שעלה מחמת מכה בריאה. אינו קירום.
Very interesting. Similar. This the idea here is structurally similar to the idea of Ravena. What is he saying? Let's see if you can explain what Rav Yosef is saying. Kirum she'ala mehamat makkah bari'ah eno kirum. What does that mean? You understand that?
I think.
Yeah.
So sometimes the Риאה would have a random like growth of skin.
No.
Which would make it.
No, that's a sircha. That's more of a sircha. Here it's a kerum. Kerum is like scab. You know, when a person cuts himself, he gets like scab on the cut. How does a person heal it?
Yeah.
So there was a nekev in the Риאה, some sort of wound.
Yeah.
And then it healed itself.
What does a kerum mean?
Kerum, scab.
A scab.
Scab. Right? So there was a wound, but the wound healed itself.
Yeah.
Now you have a scab. So the nekev is sealed. So kerum sha'al. So you understand what he's dealing with here? So read it again.
But isn't it like from a hashash that it's one of these like random?
No, you're thinking about sirchot. Sirchot is extra growth. That's a little different.
Isn't that what is hashash from?
No. Here it's kerum. Kerum is not a sircha. It's kerum. Again, is scab. Sirchot is like fleshy pieces of meat. That's a little different than a kerum.
Okay.
We're going to deal with the sirchot. But the kerum is a scab. So it looks like it's healing itself. It's a kerum. It's not like a dangly thread. The sirchot are more like dangly threads.
Okay.
This is again, when the scab heals itself, you see it, you're saying it's healed. So you say the nekev is healed. So that's kerum. Kerum she'ala mehamat makkah bari'ah.
קירום שעלה מחמת מכה בריאה אינו קירום.
It's not considered a kirum, meaning you would think, the nekev is sealed. No, the nekev is not sealed. So if you had a nekev and now it has a kirum, it's terefa, eno kirum. And if you look at Harambam, let's see if he explains it like this. I think this is halacha gimel. In the same hilchot shechita. Hilchot Shechita, Perek Zayin Halacha Gimel. I think.
Okay.
No. This is Hilchot Shechita. Check on the side.
Isn't it ala kirum b'makah? No?
Here it is. You're right. It was. I was correct. Okay. Echad misimpone le'ah shenikav.
אפילו ניקב לחברות, יפה.
This here is dealing with the simpone re'ah, like the bronchial tubes inside the re'ah. Okay, now, the ריאה שניקב, this is what we're studying.
וריאה שניקבה ועלה קירום במכה.
So you see, it's ריאה שניקבה. It had some sort of nekev in the ריאה. And then later on, עלה קירום במכה. It healed itself, so to speak, right? ונסתם הנקב. No, נסתם הנקב. So you say נסתם הנקב.
You think it's good?
It's good. Answer, no.
אינו קילום.
אינו קילום. So that's considered enokelum. So here again, you see different types. You see the structural relation between why Ravena, assuming this is Ravena, it doesn't matter which Ravena it was, whether Dol Sheli Shishi or Dol Shemini. He's giving us a similar, structurally similar, meaning in one case you have some sort of something sealing the bottom of the Риאה, like closing it off. right? And you say because it's closing it off, it's not letting air through, and therefore it's terefa. Here it's visually similar. You have a sealing off the nekev. You say, this should be a good thing. This should make it a keshera because the air is no longer escaping. The answer is no. It's eno kelum. That kelum is nothing. It's keilu eno. It's as if it doesn't exist. You understand?
Yeah.
So that was the second step. But you see the relationship between Rav Yosef dealing with the sealant on the nekev and Rabbeinu dealing with some sort of sealing, something sealing the bottom of the re'ah, which is, in one case, you would think the sealant is good. In the case of Rav Yosef, it's sealing the nekev. In the other case, the sealant is bad because it's sealing the re'ah. The answer is in both cases, it's taref. Okay.
Do we know yet, like, why the healing of the nekev is taref?
So what he's saying is that it's not really a healing. Because apparently the scab will just fall off and it's not fully healed.
Okay.
That's the idea. Yeah.
لما رب يوسف هاي رئاد أب وشا إذ عينا هخا أب وشا.
Now, if you recall, this was exactly the statement of Rav Yosef that was brought in Daf Mem Vav Amud Bet when we were dealing with the question of whether the Kerum HaElyon is Megen Olam again. So we're dealing with the question where the keruma tahton has a nekev, right? The lower membrane has a nekev, and the keruma alyon doesn't have a nekev. So the question we were saying is a keruma alyon megen olam megen? So we said there was a machloket, Rav Chaim Rabbeinu hadaman olam megen, hadaman megen, milcheta megen, and then we brought Kid Rav Yosef. And we brought this statement of Rav Yosef to prove that when you have a nekev in the tahton, but the elyon is not menukav, the elyon is complete, the elyon is megen ala re'ah. That's why we brought this statement of Rabbi Yosef. But now we're bringing the statement of Rabbi Yosef in its correct context, so to speak.
Yeah.
So this is like the original statement of Rabbi Yosef in the context. First he brings kerum she'ala b'makah eno kerum she'ala Kerum she'ala mehammat makah bare'ah eno kerum. And now we're bringing another situation. Hare aida avvosha.
هاي هذا أب وشا إذ عينان هخا أب وشا منيحين على جذبة أغلا أغوكا.
You bring now. So the hare aida avvosha. You blow up the re'ah. And you're okay. Now wait, hold on. There's a hissing sound. Now I'm looking. I don't really. Air is escaping. It's very bad.
Yeah.
That means that it must be a nekev. So it's making this hissing sound, right?
Okay. منيحين على جذبة أغلا أغوكا.
Let's see how he explains avosha in the aruch. The aruch. Let's see. Hayre ad avosha. Read the aruch. Be'et.
بقيت نفاح الطباح ذا رئة.
So the tabach, the shohet, blows up the re'ah like a balloon. כרום נשיבת רוח מנשבת ויוצאת.
Like a...
Yeah, you hear the wind. Some sort of wind is coming out, so that's not good, right? Right? So the Binatan Ba'al Aruch, he was excellent. How much he was excellent. Okay? So that's a problem. So we have this hissing sound, which is lecheula, it's something not good, right? So iyad enan hecha avvosha yad einan. Iyad enan hecha avvosha. If you know where the hissing sound is coming from, malchina la gatfa ogila oroka. Then the way to check is you put a feather or straw or spittle, right? If it moves, it's keshara. If it doesn't move, it's terefa. Now you see again the structural relationship between Ravena and this second statement of Rav Yosef. In the case of Ravena, if it's moving, menachin alea roka or gatfa, and if it's moving, it's keshera.
Yeah.
Here, menachin alea gatfa or roka, and if it's moving, it's terefa. You see again how it was intelligently brought. The statement of Ravena was intelligently brought before these two statements of Rav Yosef.
Yeah.
It's related to the first statement of Rav Yosef in the idea of a sealant. It's related to the second statement of Rav Yosef in the idea of if the feather is moving, if the spittle is moving. Except that in the case of Ravena, it's kasher. In the case of Rav Yosef, it's tareh.
Yeah.
So here you see that the Chachamim, and it's a very important thing. There's a very intelligent person that I knew when I was young. He used to come study B'Shteda. His name was ריאה. I don't know what his full name was. And he always used to mention context. He used to repeat that word all over. That it's the context that determines what the law is, or what reality is, or how we perceive reality, how we should perceive reality. So he's saying, if I put the feather on the Риאה and the feather is moving, is that good or bad? The answer is context.
Yeah.
If I'm checking a makom atum, it's good. If I'm checking not a makom atum, it's bad, right? You understand?
Yeah.
Context. All right. But you see the relation between the Ravena and the statements of Rav Yosef. Not just legally, I mean, there's a legal relation because they're both dealing with neked, but the idea of placing a feather or a spittle over the area. Yeah, but now, if we don't know where the air is escaping from, but I hear the hissing sound, I'm looking, so what the heck is going on here? I don't know. Okay, so la yadin Allah. Maitenan meshichleta demaya pashure. Right, and I'm following the Girsah here of the Aroch, and I believe also the Girsah of the Rif. Maitenan, you bring a basin of lukewarm water. Maim posherim. Maya pashure means posherim. And you put the ריאה inside the lukewarm water. Okay, you don't put it in the hot water, right? Because it could causes the meat to expand and maybe close off if there was a neck, it would get closed off. Also, if it's karireh, cold water, you don't put in because it stiffens it. Again, I'm not sure exactly what's happening structurally to the Риאה, but the point is that would be an ineffective way to test whether there is air escaping or not air escaping. 1 second, hold on. בקרירה לה דקבסה פירוש סומטין. This is the aruch. So sometin means it gets sealed. It gets closed off. The neck would get closed off. Maybe when you heat the meat, it kind of expands, and then it would seal off the neck as it's expanding. That's the way I understand it. I'm sorry, mechila. I misread it. B'karirela de kavse, sometin, it seals it off, the cold.
Yeah.
B'chamimela de metarshe. Interesting. What do we have here? We have here, I think we have it the other way around. B'chamimela
de kavse.
Very interesting. So he has the opposite. He has b'karirela. We should make a note. B'karirela de kavse, it seals it off. That makes sense. The cold, it makes the meat, you know.
I think that's what I said last time we were studying, no?
I think you did say that, yes. Yeah. Right? And then, behamimela de metarshe. What does metarshe mean? Very interesting that metarshe, it holds more air somehow. It holds more. Metarshe means it holds more. Right? Why would it hold more? So he says it stiffens. It becomes more stiff. So when you cook it, it becomes stiffer. When you make it cold, it seals off the holes. When you make it hot, it becomes stiffer. It's the exact opposite of our girsah. So again, I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it according to the girsah of the aruch because I like his girsah. So let me read that again. So maitenan meshichleta demaya pashure umutvin ala begava. And now he has b'karirela de kavse, not in cold water, because the cold water calls it to seal off, right? And then if there was a negative, you wouldn't know there's a negative because it got sealed off, right? And then b'hamimela de metarshe, and not in hot water because apparently it causes the meat to stiffen, right? So it becomes harder, and again, less possibility for the air to escape. That's what I say. Again, I'm not an expert in what happens to lung tissue when it's cold or hot water. I'm following as a Gemara is presented to us either by the Aruch or the standard sugya. Benkach or benkach. Okay. Ela batkin ala befashur. We use dafka lukewarm water. Yeah. If you see bubbles coming out, it's terefa. If the bubbles don't come out, it's terefa. Now, how can this possibly be? We said that I'm looking at the outside of the Риאה, and I couldn't find a place to put the feather, or a place to put the spittle, or a place to put the straw. So there is no air escaping. And yet when I put it in the water, I discovered that there is air escaping. How can you have a situation? You have the hiss, and on the outside, the structural integrity of the Риאה is clear. The air is not escaping from the Риאה. And then I put it in water, and there's bubbles coming out. How can that possibly be? And this is why we brought Rav Yosef before in the context of the discussion of where you have a complete outer membrane, but the inner membrane has a hole. Yeah. Now he's going to explain. And the explanation for this puzzle is that the inner membrane has a nekev. And the air is escaping from the inner nekev to the space between the inner nekev and the upper, the inner membrane, mechila, the inner membrane has a nekev, and the air is escaping from there, but it has no place to go to because there's an outer membrane, and the outer membrane doesn't allow the air to escape to the outside. So you have the air going between the two membranes, right? So tata'a inkiv, the lower membrane has a nekev. Ila'a la inkiv, the upper membrane doesn't have a nekev. Continue. V'hayde avavosha. Perfect. So you're hearing zika is like the wind. Zika is the wind going between the two membranes. But when you put it in the water apparently enters the Риאה, and now you see bubbles. Okay, now you see bubbles. All right, so yes, look it up. It's terefa because you see bubbles. It means no, mechila. No, it says im basbesa terefa ve'ila keshera tata'in kiv ila ala inkiv. So just 1 second, mechila. I want to clarify subtlety, and I don't think I clarified this properly when we studied the first sugya, daf mem vav amud aleph. So let's read this a little more carefully. I'm going to read it and explain it carefully because there's a certain, again, nuance here that didn't come out. So again, there is no air escaping from the Риאה apparently, or at least I couldn't find a place to put the feather. So now I put the Риאה inside the water. Okay, now what happened? We said, Ime baspesa, you see, befashulela. If bubbles come out, it's taref. Meaning, even though you couldn't find a place to put the feather, you couldn't find it, when you put it in the water, it's not the way I explained it a minute ago, the air is escaping. So if the air is escaping, that means that there is a nekev in the elyon. Otherwise, the air would not be escaping. That's why ime baspesa terefa. Again, why am I? If the air, if the outside, let's say imagine 2 balloons, and I blow in, and there's one balloon inside the other balloon, and I blow inside, and I like somehow like I see movement or I hear hissing. So my initial reaction is that the inner balloon has a hole in it, but the outer balloon I'm not sure. So I'm looking to see is there a hole in the outer balloon or not. I try to put a feather somewhere, I can't find it. So I put the 2 balloons in the water now. If I see bubbles coming out of the balloon, that means that it's escaping from the inner balloon to the outer balloon to the outside to the water, and that's the bubbles. That means that there is a hole in the outer balloon. That's why ime baspesa terefa. The bispus means it's not just nikav ta'a, it's also nikav ila'a. I don't think I explained this properly in the previous sugya. I should have explained it properly.
But hold
on, let me finish, mechila, and then I'll let you ask any question you want. Ve'ila keshera. if you don't see bubbles, then it's kesharat. But now you have the question. But I heard hissing. I hear the hissing. I hear the balloon. I put the balloon next to my ear. So what do you mean this? How can you say that the Риאה is shelema? But I hear the hissing. I know I don't see bubbles in the water, but I hear hissing. So now I was explaining tata'ayin kiv. The reason you hear hissing is because the lower part, the lower membrane, the inner membrane rather, is nekuva. The inner balloon is nakuv. Ila'ala kiv. The outer balloon is not nakuv. The high avosha, this hissing that you're hearing is the air going between the two balloons or between the two membranes, and it's kosher because the outer membrane is shalem. And what's the proof that the outer membrane is shalem? You tell me the proof.
No bubbles coming out.
That's it. No bubbles coming out. Exactly. That's the proof. You understand? Now, if you have questions, you can ask me questions. And we just finished. So the first primary part A, there's two primary parts in the sugya. Primary part A has three parts. Ravena, Rabbi Yosef, and Rabbi Yosef. And each one deals with the question of a situation where you have a sealing. So here, in the third part, you have a nekev, but the tata'ak is considered to seal the nekev. You see the relationship? In the first statement of Rabbi Yosef, you have a nekev and you have an atima. Is the atima considered a sealant? You tell me.
The atima considered a sealant? No.
Yeah. In the second part, you have a nekev again, this time in the lower membrane, and you have the outer membrane as covering the whole thing. Is that considered a sealant?
Bubble, depends if it bubbles.
No, but if it bubbles, that means that there's a nekev also in the elyon. Let's say there's no bubble, no nekev in the elyon. It's completely. It's a sealant. You understand? It's considered right. So you see the relationship between the two parts, conceptual relationship, and then we have the original statement of Rav Yosef, Otem Bare'ah. So Otem Bare'ah is almost a derivative of these two ideas, right? You have the sealant inside the Re'ah. The question is not sealant, not sealant. Is air escaping? Is air not escaping? And if air escapes, if air enters rather, then it's kasher. In the case of Ravena, if air doesn't enter, then it's pasul. Okay. All right, so this is the fourth thing. Do you have any questions before I say Adam lefa'olo vela'avodato ade arev?
Is it really impossible for there not to be a nekev on the elyon and air to come out? Maybe is that something?
Because that's the point. The point is that first of all,
we don't deal much like a perfect balloon.
Let me deal with the chidush. In the yeshiva world, people love dealing with metaphysics. I heard some rabbis, even the sons of. I don't want to mention names. Okay, well, no, but actually, it is. It's a lot. I mean, it's a public shiur. So the son of David Shlush was a genuine Talmid Chacham, really a special leader of Am Yisrael, David Shlush, the chief rabbi of Netanya. So his son, Harav Yehuda Shlush, I hear him dealing with the class and Hilchot Shabbat, the laws of Davar She'em Mitkaven and Melacha She'sricha Legufa, and following all the Ashkenazi yeshiva world, especially the Rav Kook yeshiva world, everything becomes a discussion on metaphysics. What is really happening when he steps on the grass? Is it this and is it that and the emet and what's happening in his mind and what is he really thinking? And law doesn't deal with absolutes. The Chachamim were never interested in metaphysics. We were interested in probability. He has a very good question. He has a great question, and I'm sure it's a question they ask in the yeshiva world. Is it really impossible that there is that the air isn't? Is it really if they? I think the question you asked.
Yeah.
But if it's not, then tell me that if you have the outer membrane covering the eye, is it really impossible for air to escape? Was that your question?
Yeah.
Right. That's a metaphysical question. We don't care. Meaning, the Chachamim said if the outer membrane is shalem, that's it. It's kasher. If the outer membrane is nakuva, and then there's a nekev, and the lower membrane, it's not. We don't deal with absolutes. We deal with law. You have 3 pieces of meat. They're mixed in with I have a stew with rice and this, and then 2 pieces of kosher meat, and then 1 piece of non-kosher meat gets mixed in. And now I have these 3 pieces of meat, let's say. Am I allowed to eat the 3 pieces of meat? Had bitre batil. So the answer is had bitre batil. So it's batel. One piece of non-kosher meat gets batel into kosher, 2 pieces of kosher meat. But how can you say that? The guy could be eating. Isn't it possible that he's really eating the non-kosher meat?
I mean, if it's the whole thing.
Throw one of them away.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you need to do? Like,
yeah. So you throw one of them away. So is it possible that he's eating the non-kosher meat?
Yeah.
Yes, it's possible. Because the law doesn't deal. The Torah says acharei rabim lehatot. Acharei rabim lehatot. By the way, the Oraita, safek the Oraita is lekula. The Chachamim say safek the Oraita lechumra, and we follow that obviously. But we're not dealing with absolute truths. The Oraita acharei rabim lehatot. Right, so more probable that this meat that you're eating is a kosher meat. But is it possible that it's not kosher? Yes. Yeah. And yet halacha is, it's allowed.
Yeah.
It's a very important point. The idea of probability. And this has to do with Maaseh Bereshit, Maaseh Merkabah. I'm not getting into it now, but it has to do with Sitrei Torah. The idea of probability and the way Hashem functions, works, his universe, is based on probability. It's not based on absolutes. Okay? Mm-hmm. Any other questions before I go to Adam Lefa'alo Ve'la'avodato Al Ya'ala? I'll say, Misvat Aseh Shazeh Man Gelamah, to go to work. Mm-hmm.